Early signing day today. A lot of teams either are really happy, Joe, with the team, with the guys and the players and the recruits that they brought in, or you are a fan base that's really mad. You can't see the forest through the trees. You had a really bad day. You had some big time guys flip. But, Joe, we're going to take a little different angle here. We're going to talk about some winners. We're going to talk about some losers. Let's start off with the winners first, okay?
Yep.
I'm going to start here, and I know this is going to be a chalky pick on one of my two winners here. I cannot go without saying what Georgia did today in recruiting. Dude, it's what makes them elite. They're the number one class in the country for a reason. Dude, did you see the stat today of their offensive line haul that they got? Multiple dudes, 6'8", 6'6", 300-plus pounds. They got a massive O-line. They recruited well on the defensive line. And you know what? I tweeted this at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time this morning on the Ruffino and Joe Twitter account. I gave the gif of Kirby, and I said, Merry Flipmas, because they flipped KJ Bolden. We talked about the guys over there at Buford. Obviously, Raiola goes to Nebraska, but they flipped KJ from Florida State. He goes to Georgia. Joe, this class is just insane. They're cleaning up along the lines of scrimmage. They got good skill pieces, good corners. Dude, they got a 5-star corner, a 5-star safety. That's why they are one of the top teams and will continue to be one of the top teams. I know that it's chalky, but you just can't look at what Georgia did, one of the better classes that we've ever seen, and say to yourself, hey, man, we got to talk about them and how much success that they had.
This is exactly why we said about Georgia to not panic, and why it's different to the situation of some of these other schools that are having a lot of guys hopping in the portal. It doesn't affect Georgia when a couple of guys that were former 5-stars, former high 4-stars enter, because the current crop that's coming in every single year, they recruit at all of these positions at a very high level. They recruit linebacker really well. They got 2 5-star linebackers. They recruit the secondary really well, defensive line really well. But I'm really impressed this year that no one is going to even come close to the offensive line haul that they had. Right. I can't even think of another year in which somebody produced this good of an offensive line grouping in a recruiting class. They basically put together a full starting offensive line that could start in 2 years altogether as one year.
Bama did it in 2018 or 2017. They had like 5 of the top 7 offensive linemen. But again, you know who was there for that and has seen this before? Kirby.
Exactly.
Right.
This year there weren't a lot of 5-star tackles or guards or anything. So the guys that they pulled, they just got the biggest mammoths that they could find to clear a lot of space for the run game, the passing game. Plainly put, there's a reason why they were able to win national championships with a guy that was a walk-on. I'm not, that's not shade at Stetson Bennett. All I'm trying to say is that the way that they build this roster with the depth that they have, the 5-stars they keep bringing in, anyone can play quarterback for them and they can still continue to find ways to win.
I'm not going to say that. I will digress and give you 2021, right? Because, he comes in for JT Daniels. Remember, JT Daniels started that Clemson game that year. In comes Stetson Bennett. They win the national title, beating Alabama in the national title game. And then last year, beating TCU. I thought down the stretch, Stetson Bennett made some really big throws, like against Ohio State. And then, obviously, we remember what he did to TCU. But look, man, it just, like you mentioned, Kirby stayed the longest with Nick. He was the longest tenured assistant that's now a head coach with Nick, and he's picking up exactly where Nick left off. He learned everything from the offensive side and the defensive side. And look, Georgia fans shouldn't be mad at that. Like, this is your dude. He played there. He's from there. He's bringing – look, I know that they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game. But going into next year, it doesn't matter anymore because, Joe, the truth is you're not – it doesn't matter who was going to lose in the SEC championship game next year, because if it's Georgia and Bama again and, God forbid, Georgia loses, they're going to be back in the national title picture. They would be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win it all again. getting Carson Beck back. And you know what else it does, Joe? Some of these dudes, so you had Mims, the right tackle that went down. They got some guys in this class that if you need to put in, Joe, they got not just depth. It's one thing to have bodies and depth. It's a completely another thing to have NFL level depth behind them. That is what always changes with these premier programs. And look, even Ohio State does it. There's a reason why they constantly win. Michigan's doing it right now. We saw, and look, I know you're going to hate this take, but Brian Kelly did that, okay, at Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
Why was he constantly getting to the playoff? There is no team in America over the last 20 years that had more first-round dudes at left tackle being selected than Notre Dame. It just did. But he built that from the ground up, from the ball out. So I'm going to say Georgia. Obviously, I know it's a chalky take, but I just what else can you say, Joe, other than them just dominating?
To round this thought out, what you just said about having elite guys that, again, they brought in 6 offensive linemen. If 3 of those guys turn into starters, they all have the traits to be high-level starters and not just starting players. You're talking about here how they're all so good that they're NFL caliber, they're capable of developing into all SEC offensive linemen. That's why I'm impressed by this and not by the stuff that a team like Colorado does, because they're just getting bodies. There's a difference between just getting dudes in the room and seeing who starts and maybe it fixes your problem. They don't have a problem because they've recruited and developed already, so they don't need to rush them out there. And then when they do play, they can develop and become really good offensive linemen. The last final piece, I just want to reiterate my thoughts on Ryan Puglisi. I think that it is huge that they were able to have somebody who was already committed, who wanted to be a part of this program so bad that he was committed from the jump. He didn't flip from somewhere else. They didn't have to worry about him flipping to go anywhere after that. I think in the future, in a couple of years, we're going to be talking about Ryan Puglisi as a really underrated player in college football, and maybe in the same light that we're talking about Carson Beck right now as an eventual NFL draft prospect. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.